What's up guys, Josh Blunt here, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to maximize growth in the gym. Let's get started. Welcome to my channel everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. In this video we're going to be talking about how to maximize growth in the gym. Now, if you're a beginner, this is going to be a great place to start. If you're a little bit more advanced, then maybe tightening up on some of these hips might help you to get over that plateau. That's what we're going to figure out in this video today. The first thing I want to talk about is the all too common form. Now, form and technique are completely different. That'll go over next. So let's dive right in. Form is a specific way of performing a movement to avoid injury, prevent cheating, and to increase strength. Now, I'm going to be using the back squat as an example. Now, the general form of a back squat is to keep the head and the chest up so that the chest does not lean forward, with a rounding of the knees and the hips, keeping the hip crease even or even below the knee, quads parallel with the floor at about a 90-degree angle, keeping the weight directly from the bar down to the center of the foot, which should help to keep the weight even on the foundation here. Now, the full range of motion for the back squat is a hip and knee extension as you go through the lift. Now again, going through the full range of motion here is going to prevent injury and cheating and to increase strength. That's going through the full range of motion of a back squat. Now, technique on the other hand is the way that you perform an exercise in order to target specific muscle groups. So now we're going to compare the back squat with the front squat. Both of these lifts are compound lifts that target multiple muscle groups. Both can also be used to build strength and power. Yet some differences here is the back squats are going to be targeting the posterior muscles, engaging the glutes, hamstrings slightly more. The front squats, on the other hand, are going to target the anterior muscles, engaging the quads and core slightly more. So as you can see here, these are going to be different techniques of the squat, but both need to go through a full range of motion to prevent injury, cheating, and to increase strength. So that's going to be the difference here. Let's move on. Volume. Volume is the amount of sets and reps combined with the overall weight being lifted. Now, as a general guideline, for strength, I would go with 3 to 7 reps, 3 to 4 sets at an 80% 1 rep max. For size or hypertrophy, I would go for 8 to 12 reps, 3 to 4 sets with a 70% 1 rep max. And for endurance, I would do 15 plus reps, 3 to 4 sets with a 50% 1 rep max. Now, this is just a general guideline. Now, depending on your experience and fitness level, you're going to want to stay between 10 to 25 sets per week per muscle group. Let's take a look at a chart here. Now, this was put together by Brad Schoenfeld, and it says that 7 to 10 sets, the goal is to stimulate hypertrophy with lower training volumes and acclimate the body for higher volumes. So that's going to be at 7 to 10 sets per week per muscle group. The next one shows 10 to 15 sets. The goal is to progressively increase the rate of hypertrophy with moderate training volumes. So that's 10 to 15 sets. 15 to 20 sets, the goal is to progressively increase the rate of hypertrophy with higher training volumes. And the next one shows 2 to 3 sets per week per muscle group with the goal of deloading. So this is a deloading phase aimed to promoting recovery. Now, it gets a little bit tricky at this point. Myself, I like to go to about 20 to 25 sets per week per muscle group, but depending on your fitness level, you do need to save time for recovery. Now, starting out, you could go with 10 sets per week per muscle group and then work your way up to 20 to 25 sets per week per muscle group for optimal growth. But any more than that, if you don't give yourself enough time to recover, your gains will actually go down. So it's very important to find your optimal growth rate, because that is going to be different for everybody, depending on your fitness level, depending on your goals. You need to find that set range per week. And that part is going to be up to you, which leads me to the next point that we need to be focusing on, and that is frequency. Frequency, as it applies to exercise, refers to how many times per week you do cardio or resistance training workouts. Now, all of the literature says that you should be training twice per week per muscle group. A paper published by PubMed in 2016 by Brad Schoenfeld states that when comparing studies that investigated training muscle groups between 1 to 3 days per week on a volume-equated basis, the current body of evidence indicates that frequencies of training twice a week promote superior hypertrophic outcomes to once a week. It can therefore be inferred that the major muscle groups should be trained at least twice a week to maximize muscle growth. Whether training a muscle group 3 times per week is superior to twice per week, protocol remains to be determined. So with that being said, you're gonna have to figure out your own split. So whether it's a push-pull leg split, a full body split, or an upper and lower split, that's gonna be up to you. Now I prefer the push-pull leg split, which is gonna look something like this. And as you can see, there's 2 days in between each push workout, each pull workout, and each leg workout. But if you feel that you need a little bit more recovery time, then you can also do a push-pull legs break and then push-pull legs again, which will give you about 3 days in between each muscle group. And if you want to bring back volume, the way that I would do this, let's use push as an example. I would do 10 to 12 sets on Monday. I would do 10 to 12 sets on Thursday, which will equal that 20 to 24 sets per week per muscle group that you're looking for, if 24 sets is what you're after. And again, training each muscle 2 times per week is needed to maximize growth with 48 hours in between workouts of the same muscle group. As a beginner, I would start with a full body split, probably 2 to 3 days a week. And as you get a little bit more advanced, you can do the 4, 5, 6 days a week if you would like. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is intensity. Intensity is the amount of physical power expressed as a percentage of the maximum oxygen consumption that the body uses when performing an exercise. Or how heavy are you going? Me personally, I don't like to go to failure with every single set. The way that I train is going near failure, leaving about 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. From my experience, going to failure affects the intensity and volume that I'm able to do on the following sets throughout my workout. Brad Schoenfeld also has an interesting approach to this. He uses a technique called reps in reserve. This technique provides a way to gauge how many reps you stop short of failure. So in a typical 3-set exercise, I might advocate having an RIR of 2 on the first set, 1 on the second set, and then going to failure on the final set. This goes to show you that you really need to test to see which works for you and your goals. Me, on the other hand, I like to be right in the middle. Set is stopped 2 reps short of failure. Me personally, I don't like to go to failure every set because I find that I don't have enough energy to complete the following sets throughout the workout, at least not to the best of my ability. And I think that if you're gonna leave any more than 4 left in the tank, that should just be considered a warm-up set. And again, this is just my preference. So you're welcome to test your own sets and see what works for you. The next thing I want to talk about is time under tension. All right, so general advice is to maximize strength. The ideal time under tension is about 20 seconds or less. To build muscle, it's at least 40 seconds, and for muscle endurance, it's at least 70 seconds. Now, there isn't a lot of studies that have been done on this, but a general guideline to optimize your lifting tempo is to stay between 2 to 6 seconds per rep. And for an example, if you're staying within the 2 seconds, that's going to be a 1 second on the concentric lift and a 1 second on the eccentric or negative part of the lift. If you're going with 6 seconds, for an example, you're at 3 seconds on the concentric part of the lift and 3 seconds on the eccentric or negative part of the lift. Me personally, I like to stay right in the middle with roughly 4 seconds per rep. That seems to work best for me. So if we're looking at a dumbbell bench press, on the concentric part of the lift, 1 to 2 seconds up will be on the faster side, and then controlled on the eccentric portion for about 2 seconds will give you the time under tension of about 4 seconds per rep, just as an example. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but I'm gonna say it again, testing, testing, testing. That's what this is all about. Test for 2 seconds, test for 4 seconds, test for 6 seconds, see which one works best for you. And the last thing that I want to talk about here is progressive overload. Progressive overload is the gradual increase of stress placed upon the body during exercise training, meaning you must keep track of your workouts constantly, always tracking your progress. Progressive overload can be measured in the increase of progress in any of the terms I just talked about. So whether it's perfecting your form, changing the technique, or increasing the volume, frequency, intensity, or time under tension. You can only keep track of all of those numbers in your head for so long, so write that stuff down, guys. If you do want to track your results, I have a fitness journal link down below, so go ahead and check that out. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for the video today. I do hope that I'm bringing some sort of value to you. If you wanna dive a little bit deeper into exercise, nutrition, and mindset, check out the link down below, the beginner's guide. And if you do like the content, hit that subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications so you can be notified right when I release my next video. And remember, guys, we all have different realities in life. Discover what works for you. I'll see you on the next video.